Texas, a show for local business owners. This is Business Houston Podcast. If you're a small or medium-sized business, this is your source for trends, interviews, and tips for winning in today's economic climate. Presented by the BBB for Greater Houston and South Texas. You're listening to Business Houston, and this is your host, Matt Bertram.
Hello, welcome to Business Houston Podcast. My name is Matt Bertram. Today I have with me a special guest. I have Mark Zimmerman with Renters Warehouse. Mark, how are you doing today?
Hey, Matt, I'm doing really good. How are you doing this morning?
Fantastic. It's
Awesome.
It's a great weather here in Houston. I really love like the chill where it's
this is right what we've been waiting for, right? In June and July when I'm like, please, Lord. Now it's like, yes, we made it.
This is when everybody moves here, right? Anybody that visits now is like, oh, this is amazing weather. I'm going to move here. And then, this is when, this is when you hire people. This is when people buy houses. I feel like,
You crack me up because we put on one of the largest monthly networking events for real estate in the state, really. And been doing it for years and years and years. And a lot of the folks that I noticed, we kind of have a bump around that November, December, January, February time frame is when people start coming from out of town. Because we do have people come in from, out of town, out of state. And even one of my buddies in Chicago who wants to check it out so he can do something similar in Chicago is like, hey, when's a good time to come? I'm thinking January. I'm like, yeah, you live in Chicago. I absolutely believe you're thinking January, right? So love the weather.
Awesome, Mark. Well, why don't you tell me a little bit about you, your business, and this event? This event sounds awesome.
Oh, yeah, sure. So just like all of us Houstonites, we Houstonians, I was in the oil and gas industry for many years. And then I got the opportunity back in 2000 to buy a We Buy Ugly Houses franchise. Have you ever heard of that?
I know a couple. I know an owner that owns about 3 of them here.
Perfect. Awesome. Yeah. So I had the one up in the Woodlands, so I had one of those, and we did that for 8 or 9 years, and that's what really got me into real estate. And then I got involved with an investment group when I sold it right before the bottom fell out of the mortgage industry in what was it, 09 or so, right? They say that God takes care of drunks and fools. Maybe I was both, but all I know is that I sold it because I didn't want to renew because the fees and stuff were going up. And then that happened about 6, 8, 9 months later. And I was like, thank you. But anyway, so, stayed in real estate and we started doing stuff. We started a short-term investment lending company. We started a residential construction company. We started a note buying company. And then 9 years ago, we started Renters Warehouse. And so I'm the president and COO of the company, and that's what we do. And that's kind of my flow from oil and gas into real estate. And I look back, it's been 21 years now, and purchased 400 and something houses and 60 something rental properties, and I don't know how many thousands of notes we've done. And I look back on like big turn in the road, right? From from oil and gas to real estate. But I will say this, I have never woken up any morning and not been fired up. Isn't that crazy? I don't know. When you like what you do, love what you do, it changes everything. And I love what I do. So there's my 60 or 120 second spiel.
Well, hey, I got your website pulled up, renterswarehouse.com for anybody that's looking for America's single family rental company.
Look at that. Fancy.
Very clear, very concise. Enter in, I guess, where you want your property, right?
That's exactly right. And the nice thing is you can scroll down and you can select where your rental property is. So for us, like if you're in Houston, where we're managing, then you scroll down, you go to Texas, Houston, and then boom, our page flips up and you can see properties that we have available for our residents. You can get a feel for our clients. So if you scroll down there, you can see that. If you go all the way down the page, on the scroll down to the map, right? And you'll see great state of Texas right there. There you go. And there's Houston, and there it takes you right to our page. So that's how you kind of drive to the Houston part. And it just tells you a little about us, got our team in there and the whole 9 yards. So that's how people can find us. It's really easy to do. And I mean, that shows you right there. It's really basic what we do. It's a complex process, but we just simply help people find tenants for their rental properties. And we help people manage those rental properties after a tenant's been placed. And we can do one of those things or both of those things. And we think that we do pretty good with it. So that's what we do.
Well, fantastic. So you are part of a franchise, correct?
That's correct. Right. We have the largest franchise in the country. Started out 9 years ago with 2 employees and 0 houses. And now we're right at 1,000 houses and 32 employees. And we're having fun. it's been a really good business for us.
I mean, that's really the great thing about working with franchises is they have a system, they have a process that works, they have support on the national level. So it's not like a fly-by-night organization. You're not going to run off with anybody's money.
Right. Exactly.
Right?
That's exactly right.
Right. There's a lot of value
there is
with the franchise. So tell me who kind of like what's your territory, right? Because you're a franchisee. What's your territory? What's the ideal customer? Like you said, you had 1,000 something houses. Like what is the complex mix of, I guess, owners or investors?
Right.
What does that look like? Yeah.
No, that's a great question. So for us, we've got, like I said, right out 1,000 properties we manage and right out about 750 clients. So you can do the math real quick to figure out that we're not helping people out that have 30 or 40 houses, although I do have those clients. But our usual client is that person that has gotten transferred and they're like, man, maybe I should rent my house instead of selling it. I know it's a hot sales market right now, but man, having that passive income, right? Maybe get 4 or 5 or 6 of those over time and they all get paid off by the resident. Next thing I know, I've got 5 rental properties that are all generating $2,000 each. It's $10,000 gross a month with no debt service. I mean, so people decide to do that. Maybe they decide to buy another house and they can't for some reason move their house, although in this market, they probably should. So they decide to turn a rental property, or like we talked earlier, maybe they inherited a house, right? Yeah. And again, you always have the option to sell, but that's just kind of a one and done. And all those years that I was a Weeb Ugly Houses guy, we were buying and fixing up and selling 8 to 10 houses a month. Yes, it was fun and I learned a lot and we made some money, but for the long term, that really didn't generate anything. So it's all really about rental property and passive income. Read Rich Dad Poor Dad. That's the book that got me going when I decided to make this crazy switch from oil and gas to real estate 21 years ago. So that's the person that we kind of help, out, is that person that needs help with a management of their property. And so most of my clients, they're not seasoned investors, have been doing this for 20 years. They're like, oh, man, help me out. How do we make this happen? That's our focus.
It's funny. There's 2 things that you mentioned that I would want to add to the conversation.
Yes.
Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That was probably one of the books in high school that my parents gave me. I read Cash Flow Quadrant. I even got, Cash Flow 101, the board game, right? And
the board game, I love it. Yeah, I remember the board game now.
Yeah, no, actually, like people in college liked it. Like we played it a few times. But yeah, I mean, I think that that like real estate has made a lot of people wealthy, and that's how they maintain their wealth.
93% of millionaires, I think it was 93%, right? I think it's right.
It'll be crypto very soon. It'll be crypto very soon. But no, I think a great place to long-term store your wealth, and someone with your background, I think. Really, I think adds to the comfort level because there's so much that can go wrong when you're buying a house, you're updating and you're trying to flip it. Like the TV shows make it a lot more simple than it is, and a lot of hidden costs, and they get great deals on stuff. So there's a lot of work and skill that goes into that, and that might not be for everybody. And it sounds like you've kind of like a lot of people. There's probably a lot of people that can relate. In oil and gas, it's, ebb and flow, and you want something more stable. And so you got into real estate. And it sounds like you bounced around and you found what made the most sense. And probably if it made the most sense for you, it'd make the most sense for a lot of people, right? Yes. And someone that's been through all that experience is ideal for who you might want to work with, right? Is someone that's been there, that can answer those questions. Right? That someone that has a support of a big franchise. I think all those things are certainly like a winning combination. Tell me a little bit, like, so COVID, I mean, everybody's now in their house. Okay. Right. Everybody's always in their house. I'm working out of my house now. I have an office. I'm paying commercial rental property. I don't know how I totally feel about that in a couple of years when my lease runs out. Right.
Right.
Is in the office. But, I think that COVID really changed everything. People really put a lot more attention on their house. I can even tell you, somebody I work with, they had a house on Lake Conroe and they had a house here. And they ended up, because the market's good, they ended up selling their house here and just living on Lake Conroe.
Why not?
why not? Right.
Yeah.
They could have certainly kept it and rented it out. I mean, there's a lot of things that are changing. COVID's changing people's outlook. I'm curious how that maybe has affected your business.
Oh, no, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, it's affected our business in a bunch of ways. Talking about people selling houses and moving or, picking a house that they like better, that's certainly been evident. Our renewals of our leases are way up. One, people just think, you know what, I like where I'm at. Why should I move around? And COVID kind of kept people from not renewing the leases, which is huge. As a landlord, it's those turns, right? Those tenant turns. Every time a tenant moves out, there's expense. It's just like money just starts going out. So you want to keep your tenants as long as you can. And so we find that our residents, they really renewed their leases big time in 2020 and 2021, I think, because of COVID. The other thing that we saw was kind of a flight back out to the burbs by the younger folks, which is crazy. They all wanted to live downtown right by their work and do the cool thing. And now they're like, you know what? I can get a house twice the size of a house with a yard, and it doesn't matter because I'm not driving downtown. So as far as our residents go, we've really seen those kind of two things happen over the last year and a half. As far as Renters Warehouse Houston goes, on March the 13th of 2020, I told everybody to grab their computers and their voice over IP phones and go home. Seriously. Yeah. And a year and a half later, we're still home.
Yep.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, that's the same for me.
Yeah. So it's kind of an interesting story. So in one of the other businesses that we have, we own a 63,000 square foot, 42 bedroom house on 15 acres.
Wow.
42 bedroom house. It's called the Manville Mansion. People are all over it. You'll see it when you go online. So anyway, we had that for years. It was a loan that went bad that we took back. But anyway, we're in the process of fixing that up because it was a shell. Crazy story about it, but I won't waste your time.
Is it a corporate retreat, or what did you use it for? Like, is it a rand? I'm not totally understanding what it's for.
Well, the Cliff Note story is that it was built. They did the exterior. It's a brick home, 2-story, 42 bedroom, 12-car garage, indoor pool, 15 acres, right in Pearland. Crazy, but anyway. Then the story is that the guy's wife didn't like it, so he bought it next door and built, and they lived there for years. And so there's this shell sitting there, and we did a loan, and it didn't work out, and we ended up having to take it back and didn't make his first payment. But so we thought we'd just sell it as is, but over time we thought this is a really good asset. Let's turn it into an office. So we've actually turned it into commercial, and we're in the process of fitting it out to turn it into a commercial property. We'll have the second floor, a Renters Warehouse, along with the We Bugly Houses franchise that the investment group has that I work for. And so we just have to get that done. It's been a very big project, as you can imagine, because it was just a shell on the inside, 63,000 square feet house. So we're kind of working on that. So we'll be going back at some point, but we're all working from home still. And I will say this, we've always been an e-based company. Okay. So we've never done hard copies of anything. We embraced technology back before it was cool. And I'm so glad that we did, because it was so easy for my folks to pick up their voice over IP phones, take their computers. Everything's on the cloud. Everything's protected, obviously. But that's how we kind of did things. And it made the transition to this new paradigm that we're in, right? This new home office thing really easy. And so we didn't miss a beat. I actually hired four additional people last year. So we had done pretty well. So
yeah, no, I think PPP really took care of a lot of people.
Yes, did help some folks out.
Right. Like, I think that was really good. And I think that this has really opened up a new reality to, how people are going to work in the future, and you can be geographically based in almost any job. Where you can. Maybe I think we usually talk about this at the end, but I think it might be good to talk about it now. Being a technology driven company, I mean, how is your process? Like, okay, if someone's like, hey, I have a property, I'm living out in the country now, but I have this house, and I do think COVID's going to go away at some point, and maybe things get back to normal. So I don't want to sell it, right? Because I really like it. But other people that maybe don't have that capability to work fully remote might want to rent that, right? And so how do I do that? And like, hey, I don't want to leave my country house or or my mountain house or whatever.
Right.
Some people actually, I know somebody that worked at one of the big oil companies or still does. And when they left, she went to Spain. Okay.
Wow.
and she was working from Spain for like a couple months.
Why not? If you can.
And then she she had to come back for like a meeting or whatever. And she's like, hey, can we push the meeting? But I mean, the world's opened up, but like, so if someone, is hearing this, they're thinking about, hey, I want to rent that out. Like, what does your process look like? It sounds like it could be fully remote to walk you through and all that. So just tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that's great. So we actually were kind of forced to go to those remote processes when COVID hit, right? I mean, people still wanted to have us lease and manage their houses. People still wanted to move into those houses and see those houses. And, things still had to happen through that whole cycle. So it really did cause us to go even more remote than we already have. I will want to say on the side that we've used workflow process automation and software for years, and that's one thing that totally keeps you on point. So that's where we've embraced a lot of the technologies, a lot of our software systems. But if somebody says, hey, I want to have you help me lease my property, you're going to get speak to somebody that's with the company that knows what's going on, and they're going to assign you to whichever one of my leasing agents that's under our brokerage covers that area town. And that's a local live person that knows the area, lives in the area, has been a realtor for years and knows everything there is to know about the area, which I think is strong. That's why we have our city's broken up into 7 different sections for our 7 different realtors. So that way they really know the area. They live in the area, right? That's so important. Because there's some trends. I mean, I talked to a client last week that could not believe that we got an extra $200 on the rent. He was saying it was going to be $1,450 a month because he'd done his research. He'd gone back 12 months. Should have done that. Look at the hot market, right? And we told him, listen, not only is it a hot selling market, but believe it or not, it's a hot rental market, super hot. Our days on market are like 17 days right now, which is insane. So you're going to have somebody that knows that area. They're going to go ahead and go to the property. You don't have to meet them. Again, we do Zoom meetings. Everything's e-based in terms of our documentation. So you can meet with them if you feel comfortable. If not, you live out of state or out of country, which about half of our clients do. You can do this online like you and I are doing, right? And feel comfortable about who you're dealing with. Engage with them, and then they're going to help you to get that rental property ready to rent. They're going to list it. It goes out on 230 different websites, blah, 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 blah. Get it listed and then find you a really good resident. We, again, use software and technology to make sure that our residents are who they say they are. I mean, we've got facial recognition and comparing. I mean, you would not believe the third-party software user we use for that. They even go in the bank account and make sure that the deposits, the money that they say they make is actually going in their bank account every month. How crazy is that? So we do a really good job, I think, of screening our residents, and then they're going to move them in, and then the property management department takes over. And again, all of that can pretty much be done remotely with the exception of helping with maintenance and repairs. But we have over 40 different preferred vendors that help with those kind of things. And so they're able to go out next day and do whatever needs to be done with, of course, the owner's approval. And that's kind of the flow of the whole process. I know I kind of compressed it, but we don't have an hour and a half, right? So, but I will say one thing that I think builds some credibility with us. Not only have we really embraced technology to now allow us to deal with COVID and some other things, but we've also tried to do, as landlords ourselves, things to make our clients feel comfortable. So that resident that we place, we guarantee that tenant. Used to be nobody guaranteed the tenant that they place except for us, but plagiarism is the highest form of flattery, right? So now a few other people do that, but we guarantee every tenant that we place. We give them our clients a 90-day test drive on management. So they decide to let us manage their property. In the first 90 days, they say, you guys suck. They can actually fire us and get all their money back. All their management fees, little setup fee, we try everything. So we try to do things like that. We have a rent guarantee program. So the tenant flies out, you get rent for a couple months. We have a rent advance program, which I'm so excited about, that we just started, where you can actually let us rent the property, and we third-partied with a really cool finance company that will actually pay you a year's worth of rent up front.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know.
I'm getting
I'm just
overwhelmed.
I know.
Overwhelmed with awesomeness. Okay. Like, it sounds like there's so many amazing things
Yes.
that you do and the organization you're part of does. there's no doubt that you're a BBB award winner. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that and
sure.
maybe what the BBB means to you?
I got to tell you, we have been very honored to be recognized, as I know the companies that have been, by the BBB, because the Better Business Bureau is the company, the standard, right, to make sure that people are doing what they're supposed to be doing. And, you know, people go online and check you out now. So it's imperative that you actually be part of the Better Business Bureau and you handle your business. Things happen. I always say we're not perfect. We are far from perfect. We are not perfect. I don't mean to paint that picture at all, but I think we're really good at fixing stuff when we mess up. We always raise our hand, even if it's financially detrimental, and say, we screwed up, let's fix it, right? I think you have to do that as a company now because, again, people are going online and looking, and one of the places they go is Better Business Bureau. So you better have that. So, you know, we've won a winner of distinction every year that we've been open. We've won the Pinnacle Award a couple times, which is pretty awesome. So I think it kind of shows that we walk the walk. And I would highly recommend any small business owner that is watching this to try very hard to stay in good standing and do the things you need to do to provide a good experience to your customers, because people notice, right? And what they say, you know, it takes 10 positives to erase one negative, and I totally believe that. And people are going to review you negatively if they have a bad experience, but very rarely do they give you a review if they have a positive experience. We've been lucky because we've got over 1,400 Google reviews, and over 1,300 of them are actual 5-star reviews, which is pretty good. But it's hard to get people to say good things about you. So you really have to do well to make that happen. But it's so important. So I think the Better Business Bureau today provides even a better service, not just to us as a small business owner, but more so to the public than ever before, because everybody's going online, right? Yeah. Everybody's checking it out. So you better do that. No. And walk the walk, right?
No, fantastic. So yeah, no, I think that was jam-packed with value. I think that you really communicated a lot of the great things that you're doing, and trust building and experience, all the important things, and certainly authority. Why don't you tell everybody, Mark, how they might best get in touch with you or your organization?
Absolutely. So my way is real easy. I try and make it easy. It's Houston@renterswarehouse.com, right? Houston@renterswarehouse.com. That's an email, and we'll get it. And if you want to talk to me, just send me an email through that, and we'll make sure that we respond back. As you can tell, I like to talk. I love real estate. I've made every mistake in the world, so I think I'm a pretty good person to talk to. I'm not going to say that, I've never lost money and here's what you should do. Instead, I'm going to say, don't do that. But I think that speaks volumes. So I'm always willing to talk about that. Also, make sure to come out to our monthly event that I talked about a little earlier. It's the third Wednesday of every month except for December. Our last one is this month on the 17th of November, right? Wednesday, I think it's at Stampede Houston. In Houston, and we're actually going to have the HGTV star Jean-Pierre from Two Steps Home speaking this month, which will be a lot of fun. Houston investor, started in Houston, went to our meetings before he actually got started. Now he's on TV. How cool is that? And he's just going to talk about, how can you get started in this? And here's what we did. And now I got a TV show. Maybe you can have one too. No, I don't know if he's going to say that. But anyway, that's a good way to come out. It's all free. I buy your beer. I buy your food. There's no sales pitches. Learn a little something. It's good. And just look for somebody in a pink shirt, and I'll be wandering around. So that's another way to see us too. Awesome. Well, Mark, thank you so much for being on. I really enjoyed it. Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for all the time. It was great talking to you too, man. All right.
Thanks so much for listening. Business Houston puts a spotlight on local small and medium-sized business, interviewing those successful business owners in Houston. And those business owners that are winning in today's economic climate. Business Houston is presented to you by the BBB of Greater Houston and South Texas. Make sure to like, rate, and review the show. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at Hugh Biz Podcast. That's HOU Biz Podcast. Till next time, this is Business Houston.